Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Now sit correctly to USA Prepares. We broadcast 2 hours, Monday through Friday, from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Kyle's engineering the broadcast in Minnesota at GCN. I'm Vincent Finelli. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Welcome, Doc Ram.
Good morning. I'm fine. I'm here. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here.
You know, the last thing I remember you saying to me this morning was, "Better hurry up, cowboy. We're running late."
That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
You were in the shower talking to me. I can't believe it.
I was in the shower. Hey, Grace Thorne. I was in the shower and you had called. And, I was thinking about all kinds of interesting things that I'd love to know the answers to. And a couple minutes got away from me, and here you go. And so, I was.
Here we are, because no matter where you
are. Yeah. And Grace Thorne's with us. And is she in the same room with you right now?
Yeah, and Ron Phoebus came in from Hawaii. So we've got Oklahoma, Hawaii, and points north. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing some big-time things now. It's kind of cool. A week from Sunday, I think the 19th, let me give you a little history. There is an 80-year-old temple up on Vancouver Island. It was started 80 years ago. It's a Chan Buddhist temple with Chan Taichung, who was a world-class Tai Chi master. He made the cover of National Geographic with his students. And in the late 60s and early 70s, he would come down to Seattle once a week and teach Tai Chi above Dr. Bestier's Naturopathic School of Medicine. And I was just out of grad school. I had my businesses going right there in Wallingford, right next to Bestier's thing, at a big deli and herb store. And he saw in me something. And so instead of teaching me Tai Chi like he normally did, he did it differently. And that allowed me to later teach Navy SEALs how to change their perception of time with breath control. I've written about it in Power Tools, and it was a gift that he gave me. Well, he died. His lead student has now died, and that Sangat is now being run by a woman that does not have his secrets. And so what I'm doing is I'm going up there and returning the fire to that temple. It's not mine. I was blessed by having it give to me. I carried it for a little while. And so they're going to be, a bunch of kids doing Tai Chi. And what I'm going to do is walk through and do it, touching them, showing them like he did me. And I got this guy that's right now in a class in didgeridoos up north. There's a big, workshop thing going on, and I'm going to hopefully try to convince him on Monday to go with me up there Tuesday. I don't know what's going to happen. If he doesn't go, it's still going to be a good deal. I'm doing 2 talks Thursday and Friday night. That'd be the 17th and 16th and 17th. And then the 18th and 19th, I do 2 workshops, an ESP and then Power Tools. And the Power Tools will include Tai Chi and brain drivers. And I'm excited because there are people coming out of the woodworks, I mean everywhere, wanting to do this, because this is going to be a once in a lifetime where I haven't even done Tai Chi in 25, maybe 30 years. I'm like, you don't forget these things like riding a bicycle, but it will be like a clumsy, grumpy old man trying to show a bunch of young, really knowing what they're doing Tai Chi students, what I forgot 40 years ago. But I remember Chan Te Chang, and I remember how he did me, and I'm going to try to do it just as I remembered it, the way he taught me how to walk. And that's all I was allowed to do the first year, rather than learn the full kata. I was taught how to walk. And the second year, something miraculous happened where I experienced a moment when everything changed for me, and my Tai Chi and my Hungar merged as one moment, as the same thing, having to do with the way I breathe. It's kind of cool.
Very interesting. Very interesting that you mentioned that. Now, when is it? When is it?
Okay.
Where is it? And
September. Unity churches are sponsoring them. One in Nanaimo and the other in Parksville. I've got the display ads. And now there are 4 or 5 other cities that want me to do things up there with them on the sustainable lifeboats. And what I'd like to do is put a little magic bus together, and we'll call ourselves the Tricksters, like Ken Giese. And you and I can go running around the country teaching survival.
Well, let me know.
How would you like to do that as a new thing? I've even got a town book to write about it.
Well, it's interesting. It's very interesting that you say this. And this kind of thing has been happening to me more and more. I'll be thinking about something that I haven't thought about in a long time. And then one of our instructors will call me and I'll say, "Hey, Vinny." And I'll say, "I was thinking about the same thing." Well, when I was lost in the white noise of the shower, we have this high pressure, low volume shower head. So the sound of our shower is like shh, it makes that sound. And so I can think a little bit more clearly. And I was thinking about, when did I start teaching? Well, I was in 1976. I started teaching people. And how long ago is that? 42 years. You just mentioned you've been, teaching for 40 years. So actually, I'm sure more than 40 years. So isn't that interesting that we've been thinking about the same thing? And I've been thinking, what is the next way of teaching? And I've been talking with Joey in Michigan about a different way of teaching. And I mentioned you and Norm Shealy and, a few others of us who can, Rich Scheben, maybe John Regan, if he'd like to come out.
John Regan's so cool. I miss him too. He's very cool. I always him, yeah. Say hi.
And so maybe we can do another kind of teaching for those who
I would love to do a closed thing, limited to 200 people, not 2,000, 2 million, and then pass the word down. And it's this is an important concept in Tai Chi. One does not learn Tai Chi, one studies it. Because Tai Chi, like everything else, is different for each of us. And what you do is you take from a teacher their concept of it, and you integrate it into your own being, and it becomes you, and that is called study, not learning. You're not learning my Tai Chi, you're studying the way I did Tai Chi, and you integrate it into your own form, and then it becomes yours. And that is what the whole thing is about. And everybody's different in terms of the way they work with circles, for example. The forms I'm going to do is double yang style. That means if I go out this way, then I go out that way. And in other words, it's a perfect sphere. And all the different symbols that you associate with Chinese mythologies, the yin yang, all of that, they're moves. I watched a cobra and a rhesus monkey when I was 4 years old put in Mortal Kombat. And the snake did its classic, entrainment, how it moves back and forth, and with a snake. And monkey leaned forward, and when snake tried to strike monkey, monkey went back and captured snake. And all the basic moves in martial arts, as we call them martial arts, and from that universe were instinctual responses. Nothing was active, like you didn't do a strike. You used the energy that was being used on you, as a reflection back in them. If someone hit my right shoulder, my left arm went right straight through their rib cage. I used their blow. Boom. And so, it wasn't, in fact, martial arts. What they were was a form of meditation, and what you did is you studied each animal, crane, tiger, dragon, whatever, and each one had its own natural responses. And the study of these animals then led to a non-invasive defense posture of the way you would walk through the woods. You weren't striking, you weren't active, you were passive. It was Korea, Shinru karate, whatever. Those forms were more, powerful, like where you're striking, whereas mine was using your energy against you. It's different. Judo is different. I was a second-degree black in judo when I was in high school. I had Fred Sato at Seattle University. They only called me Twinkle Toes once on the ball field. I took tap dancing. My dad made me ballet. I know, man. And I had this one guy call me Twinkle Toes, and I just decided to show him how that worked. When I played high school football, there was Clarence Williams, was a big black, twice my size, at Renton High School. Renton was a huge high school, Mountaineer. Okay, I'll pick that up on the other side.
Yeah, and let's also talk about a potential get-together of 200 people rather than 6,000 people, and in depth. I think that's where I think it's at. You think that's where it's at?
Yeah, we'll call ourselves a militia.
We'll be right back. Class B, I want to weigh in. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And if you'd like to listen on your phone, telephone listen line is up and running 24/7. 605-477-3249. 605-477-3249. Rick, you're talking about the high school days, football.
What happened was, Clarence Williams ended up going to Washington State University as a personal friend of mine after what happened in football. I'll tell you that in a sec. And then he went to Pullman and took us to the Rose Bowl, and then he started playing for the LA Raiders, and he made All-American football. And that was my friend from Renton High School. Now, Clarence was a big Black Panther guy, huge. And my coach said if we had any chance of going to the regionals, I had to take him out. And he was a right linebacker, and a left linebacker, and I was a right. I played right end. He was an end runner, and I played the linebacker. And when he came around the corner, it's a mass thing. It's, momentum is mass times velocity. So I came in and had him at about Mach 4, at half his weight, and went in as a cross-body block. And they carried us both off the field. I was out cold, knocked me unconscious. And, but I took him out. And I remember he said he had never been hit that hard ever. And we became good, close friends. I didn't go into athletics at Pullman. I did track and tennis, but I didn't play football or anything like that. I was more, down in lower campus nerd, having to work my way through college. But Clarence Williams became one of my best friends, and is dead now. But it was from that one moment in high school. And I didn't want to be ever called Twinkle Toes. Anyway, it just was a memory of...
So you're up for a preparedness event where we go in depth. I mean, seriously,
yeah, what's happening? I'm not talking about just Canada now wants a bunch of sustainable lifeboats, and Unity Church has approached me. And what I'm doing is teaching them farming, the ESP prep, thinking with the gut. And now I'm moving into power tools for expanding consciousness in a hurry. It's shortcuts to meditation. I've done it both ways. I have a sense of balance. The one way is quicker, like a shortcut to grandma's house. And like all shortcuts, there's always big bad wolves. So you have to be careful, like taking drugs, not to get high or to escape, but to open up or to release the brain's ability to jumpstart producing certain neurotransmitters. That's what a lot of kids are doing when they experiment with drugs. What they're actually doing is jumpstarting their brain's own production of look-alike chemistries. And this is the next evolution in man's consciousness, is the ability to do these at will as tools in a toolbox. Because over here, when you open those neurotransmitters, you can have the strength of 10 men for one moment. Over here, you can have a perception of time which slows everything down, so you have the precision of Tai Chi, even though what you're really doing is Hangar. Now, each one has an opening and beginning where you start it and stop it. And what I'm doing right now with the non-local mind is discussing where one ability starts and the other one ends. I'm trying to do a roadmap so that when you have that chill going up and down your body, that chill, one thing you can do is you can regenerate true nerve tissue at that point. If you have palsy or some other kind of nerve problem, that chill can be used to regenerate nerve tissue rather than glial cell production in the neural cavity. I've written about that with, Robert O. Becker, real famous neurologist, and I have done studies, literal chemical, with clinical studies, and I'm now going to try to write about it on a more general level for the populace to begin to realize that these are tools. Altered state.
Well, I got a couple questions for you. Something happened to me a couple days ago, and you mentioned the strength of 10 men. Well, I came out swinging against 3 people, and I felt like, now that you say it, I think I had the strength of 10 men. For a minute. For 1 minute. Well, I'm going to tell you that story, and I'd love to hear your comments when we come back. Dr. Richard Allen Miller is with us. RichardAllenMiller.com. Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller.com. So, Rick, a few days ago, I was coming up the road with our son, and we live on a dirt road. And across the road from us, well, not exactly across, but near our farmhouse, down the road just a little bit, is an old Victorian house it's got the windows broken out, hasn't been used probably in 40 years, and it's still standing. But, yeah, there's weeds all around it, and so we kind of watch over it as we go by and as we do our farm chores. And so I was coming up the road with our son. Our son was driving, and I was in the passenger seat, and I saw a small pickup truck that I've never seen before parked right in front of this house, this abandoned house. And the passenger door was swung wide open. It's kind of odd. I mean, it was parked right on the ditch. It couldn't be any farther over on the right side. And it was right against the ditch, and the passenger door was open. Now, we had it with people, and we know the owner. The owner is a very dear friend of mine. Actually, he's an instructor, a USA Preparedness instructor. He owns this farm. And he hasn't decided what he's going to do with this building yet. So it's still standing. And people would go in, and so we had a couple power poles on our farm, these 40-foot telephone poles, if you will. And our son picked them up and drove them with his front-end loader on the tractor down the road, 40 feet wide, going down the road, and he placed them in the driveway, the dirt driveway, so that people wouldn't go in there. And then he found this great big tree stump that was the diameter of a hula hoop, and he put that there too. So now it's, you're not going in there. Unless you've got a motorcycle and you're going to do a jump with it, you're not going in there. Well, this truck was parked there, and it kind of surprised me. So I said to my son, just pull up right next to this truck, and I'm going to get out. So I got out, and I looked from the road 75 feet away into this house with no windows, no door, and I didn't see anybody in there. So I decided that, and this is where the strength of 10 men for 1 minute comes in. So I yelled out, "Get out!" A few seconds later, I see people walking around trying to figure out who's yelling at them. And they start coming out of the house. There's 3 of them. And they looked at me and I said, "Get out!" And they thought I was just about ready to lose it, which is probably pretty accurate. And they started walking. Now, remember, I'm 5'7", 138 pounds right now, maybe 139. And these guys are bigger than I am, all of them. There's 1 gal, big gal, and 2 guys, and they're a little younger than I. And I'm screaming at them, "Get out!" And they looked at me, and they decided that maybe they should leave. And I'm going to use the word white trash to describe them. That's not a very kind term, but these are the kind, to further describe these guys, in the pickup truck that they had was trash, like pizza boxes, beverage cans, trash, stuff they found along the road that they were collecting, to keep, things that they found. And it looked like they might have been even living in this truck. And they wanted to upgrade to a falling down building with no windows and doors. So I don't want them here, because if they come here, they're going to bring their friends, and, I can see how they live because the way they drive. But I, for 1 minute, had the strength of 10 men. And yes, how would you explain that, Rick? Was it the adrenaline?
You're in an alternate universe, and that universe, the one you're in at that moment, has different laws. And it can surprise everything, including you, because you're not thinking about it, you simply are. And that place is called purpose. And you are now in the slots 4x4, and it's called the flow, where you don't even think about what you're doing, you simply are, as if it had been prearranged and you are doing your destiny. Now, when you hit that place, the rules of engagement are different, and they're completely different. And social mores, all of that aside, the game is afoot. And if you can do that with conscious awareness, you have now become the next stage in your divine right.
Okay. Well, the next part of this little story is I was...
There's always that part. Consequences. It isn't like I haven't been there and done that. Now what do you do? Raggedy man.
So these guys are slowly walking away from me. They're a couple feet away, and I don't have a cell phone. So I said to my son, who does have a cell phone, I said, "May I have your cell phone?" And he handed me his cell phone. So I put it up to my ear. Now I didn't dial anything. I just put it up to my ear, and I said, "Yeah, here's their license plate." And I read the license plate.
You're so good. You're so bad. Yeah,
And,
the illusion of
they're
reality.
leaving-
That's what that's called.
They're leaving now. If anything changes, I'll let you know. Now, I don't know.
Thinking on your feet. Good work. That is survival training 101.
I don't know who they thought I was talking to.
Didn't matter
whether they were.
figured you were the boss.
Well,
The woman would have been the loose
that,
cannon, and you're lucky because she could have incited him. But and that's usually if it's just two guys, it's the big guy. You take him out, and that's that. But if it's a woman, now you don't know which one to take out. Because the woman is often the inciter of the riots, and then sits back and laughs. That's how it usually plays. You shoot them both, and then the third guy will leave. I don't know. I'm kidding. You're lucky.
I want to tell you
You're lucky,
why I told that story. I have been getting a number of calls here at the farm. People have contacted us through instructor at USA Prepares. They've had comments, very interesting comments, and I will talk to them on the phone. And these are our class that I'm talking about. And I have been told by people who are students in the class that they love the stories that we tell because it's the practical application of the things that our instructors have learned. So they love our stories. And I'm wondering if other broadcasts have stories to tell the way we tell them, like the one we just told. Like, how do you get people, you have no idea how many are potentially going to be against you. You don't know who they are, and how do you maneuver that situation so that you come out on top without being killed? How do you do that? And that's why I shared that story, because that one happened to work. Another one was my dad, my mom, my cousin, and I were in my AMX back in the, I would say, probably the very late 60s, maybe early 1970. And there was a bunch of guys. It was dark, and we were coming back to the house. And the AMX has two bucket seats, and in the back where there might have been a seat, a foot was cut out of the middle of the car at the factory. This was the design to make it shorter, so there was no room for a back seat. And there was just carpeting. So my mom and my cousin, who were smaller than my dad and me, were in the back, and my dad was in the passenger seat. And these guys in this big, loud, obnoxious, muscle-type car wanted to race, and I didn't race them. And so they followed us, and they did some things that were pretty intimidating. So I turned off, we were side by side, and I turned off to the right, and we went down a road, and it turned into a gravel road, which turned into a dead end in the middle of the woods. We thought, okay, well, they're gone. And as I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw their lights, and they followed us down this road, which ended, and we couldn't go any further. There was trees in front of us. And so my dad said to my mom, give me your pocketbook. My dad had a sports coat on. He always dressed, with a white shirt and sports coat pretty much everywhere he went. He was a school principal. And he took my mom's pocketbook, and he jumped out of the car, went across the front of the car from the passenger side to the driver's side. I got out. He held the pocketbook under his jacket as if it were a machine gun. And he said to these guys, get back in the car or I'll shoot. They jumped in the car and took off. So where did he get that from? Did he get it from his brothers when he was growing up? Did he get it from World War II? I don't know. But it's pretty cool, and it worked. So maybe there was this little tiny connection to that incident when I was very young, a teenager, that sparked what I did, a few days ago. Is that a possibility, Ricky? Is that where it comes from?
That's the stories and why we tell the never-ending.
Okay. Ted in Washington's on the line. And Ted, we'll put you on as soon as we come back after these few short commercial announcements. Doc Ram's with us. I'm Vincent Finelli. This is USA Prepares. Doc Ram's with us. Ted in Washington, welcome. You're on with Dr. Richard Allen Miller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Vincent and Doc Ram. Hello.
Good morning.
I just wanted to throw in just a quick opinion related to the topic of the show. I have a very limited time, but when you were talking earlier about the strength of 10 men, it reminded me about a fictional movie back in 2011 called Limitless. It was about an experimental pill that would unleash the brain's full potential. And sure, it's a fictional film, but eventually it transformed into a TV series. It probably ran for 1 or 2 seasons. Whenever the main actor was in a situation, he would reluctantly take this pill, and in a matter of seconds, the way Doc Ram was talking about neurotransmitters, it would unleash all kinds of alternative potential ideas that he never had before. He would see solutions to his current problems. So that was fascinating. I thought it related to the topic of the show today a little bit.
Ted, it does, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that I wanted to talk to Doc Ram about was increasing the ability to learn, comprehend, understand, memorize faster, better, smarter. How do we do it? Yeah. So that's one of the topics that we're going to talk about. Now, remember when I said in this broadcast that it's kind of interesting how I will be on the phone and I'll be talking to one of our instructors and we'll be thinking of the same thing at the same time and unknown to each other, but yet we're doing it. Well, you're doing exactly that, exactly what I was talking about. You're calling about something that you've been thinking about, something that we've been thinking about, something that I wanted to talk about. I mentioned it to Rick this morning before we got on the air. Quite fascinating. And yes, and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how you can jumpstart your brain. Well, I've got questions about that, and I'm looking forward to learning the answers. Now, I'm not talking about chemically. I'm not talking about taking, mind-altering drugs. But I am interested in brain frequencies. Are there frequencies that we can use either directly applied physically to the body, meaning have sound waves, if you will, analog or digital, and I'm not sure which is the best.
Let me jump in here. Let me add a note here. This one aspect might be, for example, and I'm going to take you in a different direction than you anticipated. I'm going to suggest neuro-linguistic programming. When we talk, it's language specific. Obviously, Spanish is different. They don't take ownership. Like, they didn't do something, it fell. You didn't drop it, it fell. These memes or ways of communicating have gestures, eye movement, and body responses when you're lying.
Absolutely.
And so, okay, so with that said, once you have a sense of self, that was one of the training I trained sales on how to control autonomic functions, biofeedback, because there's sounds in your body that you're making as resonance to your brain in terms of something that's going to come out of your mouth. And when there was a comic book back at the time of Yellow Dog and Yellow Dog comics and Zap comics, there was one called Mother's Oats. And Mother's Oats was written by some psychiatrists. And they showed, it was a cartoon of what all goes on to come up with what comes out of your mouth. All the different aspects of what you go through. No, I can't say that. That will be inappropriate. Oh, I want to make sure I say this, get the picture on it. And by the time you've had so many road accidents with your automobile inside your brain, what comes out of your mouth is something quite different. That, neuro-linguistic, a whole bunch of things going on all the time. Watch it.
Rick, you're breaking up. I think you've got a bad microphone connection. See if you can check that out. Ted, are you able to stay with us through the break?
I'm sorry, I cannot. I need to go, but I have another comment for you if you'd like to take it off air, but I need to go.
Sure. Okay. Tell me. Well, just say it quickly.
Okay, it's a TV series called Bull. It's about a trial influence during jury voir dire.
Bull. B-U-L-L?
B-U-L-L. It's revolving around the life of...
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Doc Rams with us, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. If you want to go to his website, richardallenmiller.com. Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller.com. So, Rick, you were talking about neurolinguistics. Last night, I tried an experiment, and I was experimenting with some frequencies, close to, 1 cycle per second, all the way up to maybe 100. And I put this device on my head, and Mrs. Finelli and our son were watching Pompeii on the screen in the kitchen. And I wanted to see if I would be able to watch and absorb and learn more intently if I subjected myself to this sweep of frequencies. I got to tell you that the colors jumped out at me. I was focused. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I was able to watch the television screen vertical. Now, when I was growing up back in the 1950s, I would lie down on my side, prop my head up with a pillow, and watch TV sideways. And I've been unable to watch TV for more than a few minutes any other way until last night. Can you help me understand what happened with these frequencies sweeping through an antenna on my head that brought these colors out, that brought the images to clarity, to focus more intently, and I was able to really dissect, learn, and understand what I was watching to a greater level. I mean significantly greater.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Vincent? Okay, good. Because I have been trying to talk to you for the last 5 minutes. I have a problem at my end with some electronics, and I have no idea. Last night was hacked. I'm being attacked right now. How is the quality? You said it was. I was breaking up. Am I breaking up?
Right now, it's perfect. Right now.
Okay, you're breaking up at my end, and I have the screens are locked. I'll just leave them as they are. I won't touch anything, but it's in between things, and it's very creepy to realize that there's someone down the street is in my system right now, and I can't do anything about it. I need help, and I'm calling all Roger Rangers.
I've got an answer. The strength of 10 men for a minute. You go over there and you go, knock it off.
I'll try that when we're over with the program. Right now, I'm not even sure if Skype is working right because it's not loaded. Got me?
Looks good from here.
My computer is working on strangeness. I have a green screen with nothing on. That in the middle of trying to get my program manager up so that I can wipe certain things. I'm locked up, and this is my new.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Leave it just the way it is right now.
Yeah, okay.
So
bandwidth. Yes, there are brainwave states where your body does different things. Healing occurs around Schumann's resonance for transport of cell salts in the body and electrolytes. There's bandwidths that we've studied where your learning ratios are better. You have your beta state is where you are in conscious state. Alpha is a light REM sleep. You go down into delta. Delta is deep sleep. That's where often what we call lucid dreaming occurs, where you're in a different universe. And there are places in between, 8.4 cycle to be precise, where maximum healing or regeneration. That's why they say sleep is good when you've been hurt, because when you go down into sleep, you actually will heal 3 times faster than you might in a conscious state walking around trying to get things done. The body has different bandwidths of frequencies for your heart, your lung, your triple warmer. I have no idea what a triple warmer is. That's in Chinese medicine. Your throat chakra, your endocrines. They all are different. And I am only just now breaking soil for making a garden. And when I say that, it took me 45 years to be able to know what my heart rate sounds to my eardrum. You don't hear your heart rate, but you experience it as a beating. And it's, are you hearing the beat of your heart? No. But it translates like that. And so each organ and each plateau of abilities have sounds that you associate with, and they're different for each of us. That's why biofeedback often has numerous different feedback options, because you hit a learning curve and then you need a different way of listening to the sound to break through. And typical would be, instead of going it might go each of us is different. We hear these sounds or experience them as sounds differently, and each one is like your heart rate, your pulse, respiration, temperature. You can change the temperature in your body at any point by up or down 8 degrees, just simply with a visualization in your mind's eye. You hold your hands out and close your eyes. Hold your hands out. Now, if you feel the sun hitting your hands are actually starting to warm up 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees. That's how it works. If you are more active, not passive, that constricts the blood vessels and lowers your temperature. Now, this is very good, especially if you've been wounded and you can't tie a tourniquet. And this is how survival works, where you start to listen to what you have called the autonomic nervous system, which is basically sounds in the body as they relate to organs functioning properly or improperly. And you used biofeedback 45 years ago to learn how to do a polygraph and how to take one and how to give one. Now, neurolinguistics is the second side of salt, and there's different kinds of salt. There's sea salt, and there's, the salt from a Buddhist temple. They're all different. Why? Well, they have a different way the crystal formed. And so the way the crystal formed has a memory that locks in that aspect that makes swimming in a saltwater pool quite different than a freshwater pool. And I'm using that as a metaphor. And when you start to work with your brain and the variety of neurotransmitters, what you have is a big crystal on top of an antenna. Your body is the antenna. You have this big crystal on the top of it that is basically an amorphous semiconductor. That means it's in constant change, which means it is a 4-dimensional hologram, 5-space. That means if you can learn how to go to different places in the brain, you can change the movie. And the problem is, all the saints in history have talked about only one place in the brain, which is bliss states, going to bliss. Now, bliss is a specific brain pattern on the cerebral cortex, and Persinger and others have mapped that out on what distinguishes you from a meditator that's been meditating for 30 years. And that their brains are different. Your brain is different. And what you want to do is be able to navigate the brain like you would the state of Oregon. And you go over here, and you go over there. And sometimes you want to go for a walk. Now you need to solve a problem. And so the brain is like a roadmap of different universes that are accessible to you. And when you learn to take control that chill, that goes up or down your spine, that was a previous epoch's technology called tantric yoga. And the Kundalini. Now, what Kundalini is and what it is not, with a little hokey pokey and the hand jive, it is also a light beam going up and down the spine. Sri Aurobindo and Gopai Krishna. And if you use that light beam, and when I say light beam, that chill is actually in the visible light region, which means if you straighten your back just right, it will impinge on the inion, which is that bone in the back of your head, which is where your pineal gland is. You activate your pineal gland, and what that does is it sets up a resonant cavity oscillation in the neural cavity. When you were first born, or birthed in the womb, before there was your body, there was your neural cavity, and the neural cavity just poured out the central nervous system. And then your body built up around it in the womb, around that neural cavity and nerve category. What you're trying to do is set up a resonant cavity oscillation in the neural cavity so that rather than create glial cells, which is what you and I are capable of doing at our age, we can't do real true nerve tissue. You can, with diet, just like building a 747 or a fighter plane to fly faster than the speed of sound. In order to do that, you needed titanium. So you have to have the right minerals present. And when you do these exercises and visualization and do things like regenerate nerve tissue. So the next and last question is, what age would you like to be?
Okay, we'll be right back. I've got some more questions about Schumann's frequency of the Earth, resonant frequencies, and much more. We'll be right back. The frequency of the Earth, as I understand it, is 7.83 cycles per second, or 7.83 hertz, as it's commonly
yes, that's correct.
referred.
Yes.
Well,
what that is, each planet has a Schumann's resonance predicated on its geometry. The Earth is expanding and is the only reason why there is an argument about Schumann's resonance changing. It is a geometrical phenomena, and the very fact that the Earth is in fact starting to expand would cause Schumann's resonance to change slightly. Stay tuned on that. I did the completion on Dr. Hainsworth's work at Murdoch University in Australia, down in Perth. And it was interesting. They wanted to give me a professorship down there for me to move there and continue his work. And it only took me 3 weeks here writing it. And I did that in the completion of that. And I have that will be in a couple of my other books as well under Spook Central. I did that a long time ago. Schumann's resonance for Titan, for example, is 4. And so every planet and astral body has a resonance that has to do with the physical geometry, the atmosphere, and the electrical discharges, because this is properly seen as a plasma universe. There are many different models on how to look at our universe. If you choose to look at it as a plasma, now certain doors are open and you get it. For example, you can look at Colorado River in the Grand Canyon, and from space you can see that it was an electrical discharge that formed that, not water. It was a big arcing spike when the Earth was young. It's interesting. I don't know. I have theories, that's all they are, on how we might integrate this in our daily lives as a way of being. Of course, I can't overemphasize enough the importance of training the mind. Training the mind is what we all need to do. We're like little brat kids, and our attention wanders all over the place without bringing it down into true. I was very fortunate and met Sharon Singh and became a satsangi years and years ago, where I began my journey, as each of us must. There are many roads to Rome. Mine was through Satmat. Others have other ways of doing it, Christianity, whatever. It's not about religion. It is about a relationship to yourself. And once you have that dialogue going between you and yourself, none shall say nay. You don't make mistakes in that place. And even if it is out of context, it is not a mistake. And so that's the distinctional difference in terms of how most of us come from a place of wounding. We have a bad experience. It integrates into our behavior, and then our behavior is dictated by that wound. And it turns out that if your glass is half full, that wound is a blessing in that it gives you a kind of armor someone else does not have. And that's what makes it.
Let's get this. So if I want to improve my ability to learn quickly, let's say let's say I were cramming for the big exam. Let's say I wanted to digest an automotive shop manual, cover to cover. Would I be better off using a digital type frequency or an analog type frequency?
Yeah, it is state function learning. The way you learn is the way you test best.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
The way you learn, the way you test best. State function learning.
All right, we'll be right back, and we're going to talk more about frequencies and what are the best frequencies. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, and we're talking about resonant frequencies. And as I understand a resonant frequency, it's that frequency that's the easiest to obtain. So, for example, if you are on a swing set, you can, I guess the word is, pump your legs and swing higher and higher and higher. But it's difficult, extremely difficult, to be on a swing set and have that swing operate either faster or slower. You can go higher and higher, but to get the swing to go faster, 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 it's darn near impossible.
Do with where you put the kick in your swing as to whether or not you are a resonance and going to the next level of energy. And so if you kick here, you slow yourself down. If you kick there, you speed yourself up. If you kick here, nothing happens.
Right. And so the question, Rick, is if we want to boost our mental power, do we use
light alpha?
Okay.
Where it's just slightly below where you are right now, where you're more in a very restful, laid back, relaxed situation. That's where you're going to take information in and best access it when you go back to that state. Because what you're really doing is creating a hologram of time travel, where you recreate the moment you learn something, you recreate that with the brain. That's what they call state function learning. You test best in the way you studied. If you're always in a hurry and cramming, then you're going to test best when you're being crammed.
Okay.
And
Joey in Michigan is with us. Welcome, Joey.
Yeah, good. Hi.
Hey, guys. Got a quick question. Great show. You guys are really touching some good topics. Rick, when Rife and Tesla and everybody built the machine, that was all analog technology. True or false?
True. Analog to digital is when we moved to a different kind of electronics. And what Okay.
What is analog better or digital better?
Yes. It depends on what you want to do. For example, in digital, there's an uncertainty principle that the more you know about one thing, the less you know about something else. So it's limited. Analog. Analog is, there is no fine edge from one place to the next, which means it's going to differ for each of us. And so digital is kind of like medicine, where one size fits all, and everybody's got to have a heart rate of 130 or less, or we're going to put you on meds. That kind of thing. It's a mental, they do different things. When you go from analog and the concept of photography and the 200 shades of gray with f-stops, and then you move to the digital camera, what did you gain and what did you lose?
Well, obviously, the boys creating this disaster for us are taking us to a digital age for a particular reason. Whereas when we got here via analog age, it seems like we were able to create everything that they're trying to destroy and now imprison us in a digital age. So that I know your answer was there, but I don't understand it because
I understand. Yeah, it's a difficult, because each one opens certain doors and closes others. Now, digital is convenient because now you don't need the high-end, the speakers that take 200 amps to even turn them on, like a Clipshorn or an acoustic research. Now you can take a little cheapo sound system and still have the same kind of quality. But each of us hears something different. Like when I see red, am I experiencing the same thing you are when you see red? Yes, you are, and no, you're not.
correct.
Because each of us different, just like going from analog to digital. You lose something and you gain something. What is it that you gain? Well, you can make one size fit all and everybody hears the same chord. But is it 440 or 432 for bandwidth frequencies? And that's where we're losing something when we think we're gaining something.
Rick, I've got a question for you.
I'm sorry I can't be as slick, because I don't have the answer, actually, okay. Joey. You know I don't, so there it is. Nobody does. I don't know what we're doing yet.
Well, here's a question, Rick. So I have the ability to make a sine wave type oscillator. I can do that, analog. I can drive it with a transducer and have it transmit the frequencies that I would be generating through water, or I can use a speaker and drive it through air, or I could drive it through an antenna. Which, if I want to become smarter, which I do, would I be better off direct contact? Would I be better off having a transducer and getting in a bathtub?
It all, again, is hum a few bars and we'll fake it.
Okay. So we really don't know at this point?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I'm only just now discovering the distinctional difference between 432 and 440 in terms of, listen, which one's different? I mean, they serve different masters.
Okay,
and
so
with this, you can do this, and with that, you can do that, but you can't do this, but you can do that, da-da-da-da-da. And each one has its options of doors that are open to you and doors that are closed. And analog allows you into these universes, where digital allows you into those. Now, you mostly think in digital. That's what we call memes. And the Greek divine tragedy and divine comedy would suggest that there are, for example, as a metaphor, 22 stories in the big city. And you're either possessed with only one story, or you're complexed with more than one story going on in you. That's tarot, the concept of the tarot cards, and the fact that there are 22 basic stories like Psyche at the Well of Souls. And each one has a beginning, a middle part, and an ending part as part of a story. Now, that was a science in Greece. At one time, like our physics of many-body problem, trying to do the equation of motion of an electron around a nucleus. We have no idea. It's a concept. It's not real. What's real is the imagination that is digitized into grouping information in what John Bohm called different similarities and similar differences, so-called implicate order. The idea of the way information falls down into itself or out of itself. And the metaphor that I give is the idea that you have physical plane and physical universe with physical laws, and above that, call that IQ, and then you have EQ, your emotional plane above it, which is the physical plane with more detail, i.e., how you feel about it. That's why there was matriarchal systems first, because that formed a construct of more information, wiser woman. It was the woman that ran the clan as a seer or a witch or whatever they call those old bats that run the tribe, because she had more feeling about how she felt about the physical plane, which was the physical plane with more detail. Benny Jesuit. Now, with that, you see you have a relationship in the way we break down things. Plato went to the next level, calling it an intellectual level, where he made a distinction between a chair and a couch. They're different and they're the same. They both do the same thing, but a couch is different than a chair. The way you subcategorize the one from the other was called memes and led to the nature of what we call cybernetic anthropology. There is a textbook I used for 7 years at Harvard teaching called what was it called? Brain, Symbol, and Human Experience by Laughlin, D'Aquili, and McManus. That book structures the whole concept of magical thinking like an Aborigine. Your wife, for example, when she goes to use a vehicle, does not think about how an internal engine combustion works. She simply knows that if she does the key with a certain kind of a ritual, putting it in the ignition, she has expectations of certain things happening. From anthropology point of view, they call that magic. And there's a lot of tribes that do a lot better in survival. Aborigines, Hopi, others. Coming from that metaphor of the way they approach reality and themselves than with religion and science, which is basically the opposite ends of the same thing. Now, it's a philosophical thing with advantages and disadvantages. And so these different models in physics come and go every 20 years or so. And we redefine things. Like, for example, when you do in theory with science, you always start with assumed truths and definitions before you go to theorems, postulates, axioms, and the rest of it. And one assumed truth is shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Is that true or not true? Curved space means the Earth's flat.
Rick, it's good to see you back. The old Rick.
Joey, do you have more questions?
The smelly old Rick, yeah.
Just, you know what? I have it, Vince, but I can't remember what it is because I got lost in what Rick just said, and I just...
all right. Well, stay with us. Joey in Michigan, USA Preparedness Instructors, joined us. Joey, please continue.
Hey, I have a question. Now, wait.
Go ahead.
How many years have you and I been doing this?
I think we're on 5.
No. I remember Matt Stein, 2012. I think we've been 8 years.
It's a long time.
Oh, 5? Well, it feels like 8, so there, eat me.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I love
Rick,
working with you.
I love working with you guys. Good.
Rick, you said about digital. we're in a digital state, but yet the digital's only really been here hot and heavy since 2000 as they buried the analog and brought us into the digital state. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, if we function better as digital, have we been hidden? Has it been...
No. You should not hatchet your counts before they chicken. That's a French joke, sorry, and the guillotine. You should not hatchet your counts before they chicken. Wait, I'll tell.
So you said we function better in digital, but...
Well, we think in digital because that's the way our brain groups information.
Yeah, but
that's what John Bohm called the implicate order. Different similarities and similar differences.
But
it was Gregory Bateson that said, what is your metaphor but to serve your paradox? And so the book I'm writing right now that's getting ready with the non-local mind and the farming book is going to be called The Magical and Ritual Use of Metaphor, Archetypal Gods in Daily Living, a workbook for pathworking.
Well, let's go back to your time machine. If Tesla...
I use a Wayback Machine, Wayback.com.
But if Tesla, Rife, and Blavatsky all used analog, but yet we work better as digital, then why is it they didn't use digital in a sense?
Because the Eastern and Western and the concept of theosophy, and where the East and the West meet on common ground. And the original Upanishads, their Bible was their textbook, and it reads like religion. And ours is science, which is exactly the same, the other side of the brain, the second lobe, and the closed system, which we'll call an hourglass. And what you have is something in between, going from here to there, and you have choices. And that's what causes the digital aspect of analog, is the fact that you have choice. Now, go ahead and figure that one out.
Gentlemen, I just want to tell you, I just went to GCNlive.com. USA Prepares is #1. How is that possible? I don't know, but gentlemen, I really thank you. Rick, thank you for propelling us to #1 today. Joey, thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
What other radio show could you find this conversation on? No place. Who talks about brain states? Who's talking about digital, analog, and, it's priceless. I mean, Rick, very thankful. I mean, and that you've been in our life.
Be here and know people like you and Vincent. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and thank you as well. And Vince, thanks for putting the show on where we can all start sharing this because, this is just an opportunity of a lifetime. And most people, I don't think, understand that.
Well, there must be a few because I've only seen this once before, and that was on Monday with Dr. Norman Shealy. And here we are doing it again, same week.
And what were they talking about on Monday but brain patterns?
Yep. And I'm really trying. I am really trying to learn faster, and I'm experimenting. I am my own guinea pig. I'm literally experimenting with this. And class, I'll let you know what I have found. And through collaboration with Dr. Norman Shealy, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Joey, and many others here at USA Prepares.
Let's play a workshop in the future where we all come together again for a moment.
That's what we need to do. And class, if you're interested, send me an email, instructor@usaprepares.com, if you're interested in a get-together with the faculty. Instructor@usaprepares.com.